What's going on? This is Dr. Andreoni, aka the Cannabis Doc. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me today. I'm sure by now you're more familiar with the more commonly known major cannabinoids, such as CBD or THC. But what about the lesser known ones like CBN? I saw this lovely comment and I figured this would be a nice quick topic to cover. In this video, we're going to be looking at the cannabinoid named Cannabinol, some of its properties, how it's normally used, and should you as a patient care. And we're going to be doing the same thing for its synthetic sibling, CBN-O or CBN-O-acetate. Let's get into it. So let's start with CBN. CBN or cannabinol is a mildly psychoactive phytocannabinoid which acts as a low affinity partial agonist at the CB1 and CB2 receptors and is considered the non-enzymatic oxidation byproduct of THC.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Just kidding. Let's start with a story. Did you know that cannabinol holds the title of being the first cannabinoid ever discovered? It was first isolated all the way back in the late 1800s, and by the 1930s and 40s, scientists had identified its molecular structure. For a time there, researchers believed that CBN was the compound responsible for the high. But there was a catch, obviously. What they were analyzing or studying wasn't fresh cannabis. It was often aged, poorly stored plant material, and at the time, it was the only thing available to use for research. It wasn't until the 1960s, when Dr. Raphael Mechoulam and his team had isolated delta-9 THC, that the scientific community realized CBN was not the main psychoactive component, but rather formed when THC is exposed to oxygen, light, or heat over time. This is referred to that non-enzymatic oxidation of THC. Little side note, it doesn't seem like nature has an enzyme that makes CBNA like it does for THCA or CBDA, but rather it has non-specific enzymes that can form CBNA naturally, I guess, if it came in contact, but it's not really a major player. There's no CBNA synthase. I could be wrong, but unlikely.
Oh my God!
So basically, CBN is found in greater quantities in cannabis that has been stored for an extended period of time or in non-ideal storage conditions. Don't answer this yet, but with what you know about CBN so far, what routes or modes of marijuana use would you most likely find CBN in? We'll get back to this part later, but for now, let's continue. This non-enzymatic oxidation process causes a change in delta-9 structure to become CBN, as we see here. And this change ultimately affects how CBN interacts with our CB1 and CB2 receptors or our endocannabinoid system. Despite that being said, CBN is still an active compound, chemically speaking, just not in the same way as delta-9 THC. Today, CBN has probably become most known for its sedative effects. Let's take a closer look at the data. CBN has been shown to act as a low affinity partial agonist at both the CB1 and CB2 receptors. It actually likes the CB2 receptors more than the CB1, which is less important for now. But basically, CBN acts on the same receptors that THC and CBD do. So we know that it has the same mechanism of action. However, CBN has a much lower affinity when compared to delta-9 at those same receptors. Another way to say this is that it takes much higher doses of CBN to experience the same effects, like the sedation or the high, when compared to delta-9. And it's funny because delta-9 THC is also considered a low affinity partial agonist at the CB1 and CB2 receptors, but THC does a much better job. Okay, so now that we know that THC is much stronger than CBN, or another way to say it, CBN is much weaker than THC, where did this whole thing that CBN causes sedation or it's meant for nighttime, where did that come from? There is an interesting paper that I found, and I'll put the title in the description below, but it kind of helped shed light on some things where this might all be marketing, and the reason is this. You might not normally find a lot of CBN products in store, especially flower or inhalation related, because that's kind of a bad reflection on how the dispensary stores their product. That's why you mostly see it in edibles or capsules or oral or something like that, as we'll see shortly. After a quick search on the internet, not much was actually found. It only seemed like Trulieve, Sunburn, and Move were the only dispensaries that had CBN products available, and they're mostly found in oral, like in edibles, or Trulieve has the capsules as well. I looked at the other dispensaries, I didn't see it per their search terms. If I missed one, please let me know in the comments. However, if you wanted CBN in your flower, just leave it out in the heat or light over time. Don't store it properly, and you'll get more CBN. And I don't know, it almost seems like CBN most resembles the high or the psychoactivity that a lot of people are looking for when they used to smoke back in the day. It was the good stuff, it was not that strong, it was just right. That's really what I'm getting that CBN would do. However, CBN does seem to help in combination with THC, especially for sleep and sedation. There's no question. All right, so let's move on to CBN-O. So what is CBN-O? As you may have guessed, CBN-O, short for Cannabinol-O-acetate, is the acetylated version of CBN. CBN-O is a chemically modified form of CBN that's not naturally found in cannabis, created by adding that acetyl group on that CBN molecule. If you remember from earlier, CBN is a cannabinoid that's formed by degradation of THC, while CBN-O is a semi-synthetic analog or derivative of CBN. Thus, it's produced in the lab or kitchen setting via chemical reaction processes involving acids and all that fun stuff. Similar to how THCO was made from THC, which if you haven't caught that video, you can find it here or here. But the end result is the altering of CBN's chemical structure to enhance its efficacy and bioavailability. And it gains the feature of being a prodrug, which is supposed to amplify its effects. Big disclaimer, CBN-O is far less studied than CBN. I've only found anecdotal reports to go off of when looking at the research or evidence to see what CBN-O does, and they all say that the sedative and psychoactive effects are more potent than with CBN. Even though there might not be a lot of research yet, the science does seem to suggest that CBN-O should act as a prodrug just like any other medication or drug that you add an acetyl group to. And CBN-O does convert back to CBN after that first pass metabolism, after it's ingested. So if we can extrapolate that, CBN-O should act as a prodrug and converts back to CBN in vivo. Or once CBN-O is consumed, it gets metabolized in the liver back to CBN. I would think CBN-O should be more effective or more potent. But this is all speculation for now. If you have any insights or experience, please let me know in the comments. So, should patients use CBN or CBN-O? This is just for educational purposes only, and this is not medical advice. For now, CBN is the much better understood option, with early research supporting its safety and potentially showing benefits for sleep and inflammation. CBN-O might offer enhanced effects, but until we have the clinical data, I would say patients should stick to what's known and tested. If you're curious about how these cannabinoids will fit into your care plan, always consult with a cannabis literate medical provider first. As with all cannabinoids, these effects can vary from person to person.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
And if you do decide to try these things, always start low and go slow, or at least until you know how CBN or CBN-O will affect you. What do you guys think about these products? Have you ever tried CBN or CBN-O? How did you consume it? What did you notice? How was the experience? Drop a comment below if you've ever tried either of these products. I would love to hear what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this content helpful. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy, stay informed. Until the next time.